the order of Saint Michael and Saint George. You just don't get it, you know. So this is what I want to emphasize on, that there is a very powerful nobility in Gaza and in Philistine, an Arabic Ottoman nobility out of Pharaoh, you know, and they work together, you know, with the British royal house. This is what I want to show you here. Look, the Queen was wearing the order here, where the red cross represents Saint George, the saint protector of the Knights Templars. And that's why the Knights Templars, one of the reasons they have a red cross. And the bloke with the dagger in the middle is Saint Michael. And all these kings, queens, princes, and princesses being in the order. So you really think the British royal house would just give the order to some Philistine Bedouin? No, this is the noble Al-Husseini dynasty, undoubtedly related to the WindSAR, if you look at the ears. So here she's with Prince Philip, and here is the order of Saint Michael and Saint George. So in the middle there's the guy in the dagger, you just saw it before, and the red cross. Very much related to the Red Templars cross is the order of Saint George. And here you see, it's written here, Kamin al-Husseini. It's written differently than before. Well, this is because Arabic is not being written in Latin letters, but in Arabic letters. So you can write it down the way you want, actually. You know. But usually the Kamil is written like this, and the other one, Amin, his brother, is written differently. And look at the ear, you know, it's going all the way to here. Look at it. Really big, same as his brother, you know. So here's a better picture of the order of Saint Michael and Saint George. So the red cross is Saint George here in an octagon, and this is Saint Michael. And this is what she's wearing here. So here again, the brother Amin al-Husseini, there he is. And here it says once more that Amin al-Husseini is related to the Prophet of Islam by the name of Muhammad. And in fact, so is King Charles III of Britain, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, through Zaida of Seville, a Muslim princess from the 11th century who converted to Christianity and became the concubine of King Alfonso VI of the Spanish royal house of Castile. And this Spanish house of Castile later on married into the house of WindSAR. And here you see the result. And his name is Charles Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya in his ancestral clothing, ready to defend the house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya and its religion with the sword. So here you can read about it. I'll read it for you. It's little known by the British people that the blood of Mohammed flows in the veins of the Queen. Brooks Baker wrote to British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher at the time. Brooks Baker connected Queen Elizabeth to Mohammed via Zaida of Seville, a Muslim princess from the 11th century who converted to Christianity and became King Alfonso VI of Castile's concubine. However, it's not clear if Zaida was actually related to Mohammed or not. Abdulhamid al-Houni the historian who penned the article for Al-Usbui, believes there was a connection to. Using Zeta as his linchpin, he traced Elizabeth's genealogy back 43 generations all the way to Muhammad. The purported connection builds a bridge between our two religions and kingdoms, he tells The Economist. It's the same story of Donald Trump, having, from his Scottish mother side, being related to the royal house of Denmark and Norway. I made a video about it on my channel, Homeland Security, I think it was. So my logical question after all this is as follows. Are then those protruding ears from the prophet, whom they all seem to have in common as their ancestor, and that are now all over the news through the ears of this alleged terrorist here? Then could this also be the reason that, of course, Prince William also has the prophet as a common ancestor, that Prince William is backing up the Hamas and its leader with the same ears as his father and brother? So I repeat here what he said. I, like so many others, want to see an end to the fighting as soon as possible. So he's implying that the jaywalkers shouldn't defend themselves. He see the swastika of his brother. And I repeat here, Prince William and Prince Harry have killed many innocent Muslims in Afghanistan. So if his father is an ancestor of Mohammed, well, so does he. And remember, and so does he here, Mr. Harry. So, and remember, Amin al-Husseini, who was the head of 2 Muslim SS divisions, and if he has also the ancestor Muhammad, and so did Amin al-Husseini, well, you get the connection through this symbol here, the swastika, I mean, why do they do this? Why is he saying this, It all has a reason, and the reason is that blood is thicker than water. Blood is thicker than water. That's what it's all about. It's the nobility. Wouldn't Prince William's latest opinions concerning the Gaza war be the third proof that they are in fact all related? We should also assume that Prince William had his ears secretly operated as a child. Therefore, it doesn't come as a surprise that Prince William and future King of England is protecting Hamas and his alleged relative Yahya Sin and War by telling the JJ Bays and the jaywalkers to stop defending themselves, which can be considered the fourth proof of Yahya Sin and War being a sleeper agent for the British Empire and genetically related to the house of Al-WindSAR Al-Arabiya bin Arabiya. So this guy here of the royal house of Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, that's the name, Saudi Arabia comes from there. He is allegedly also a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, just as this guy here, whose grandmother, the Queen Elizabeth, was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad and also his father, so him too. So both of them standing here are allegedly descendants of the Prophet. So what's going on? I mean, how come all these royals are descendants of the Prophet? Then, logically, the Prophet himself must have been of Pharaoh's nobility as well, as all these ones here are of the nobility. And they have this ancestor, the prophet, in common, who is also, you know, logically of the nobility, you know. What do you think this is? You know, well, these are all pharaohs. So what is this? This is the sun, of course. I mean, what else could it be? You know, like the sun rays here. You know, it's so it says here, Amun-Ra, sun worship by Pharaoh Al-Saud. Look at this one here. You know, look at them. You know, well, they are not. We know they are not English. You know, and they're definitely not even European. In Arabic, Al means house of, as in a royal house, which in Pharaonic is the Per, Per-A. It says, house of sword is a translation of Al-Sod, an Arabic dynastic name formed by adding the word Al, meaning family or house of, to the personal name of an ancestor. In the case of Al-Saud, the ancestor is Saud ibn bin Muhammad bin Mukrin, the father of the dynasty's 18th century founder Muhammad bin Saud, the son of Saud. So bin, it means the son of. So this dude here with Granny's tablecloth on his head, and with the same hereditary Yahya Sinwar ears and eyes, might be called Charles Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya, which you can read here. Here it says Charles Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya. And I seriously believe the house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya are not Europeans at all, as you can see here, which allegedly is one of the reasons of the massive import of Muslims in the UK, Europe and America. Hey Charles, can you tell us why your pals here of the royal house of Al-Saud are all covering up their ears? Here it says severe collusion, because if you compare what's being said here and this image here, these two images in this collage, you know, we can see there's a very severe collusion going on. And considering his recent royal advice to the jaywalkers, it is very obvious that Prince William Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya wants the jaywalkers to end, as in Outwick, during the whole catch, without any means of defense. Which becomes even more obvious if you look at the Nazi ties of the Al-WindSARs with the Nazis, with King Edward here visiting Uncle Adolf, and Princess Elizabeth practicing the Nazi salute, with Prince Harry walking around with his favorite swastika shirt. And after all, you know, they're admiring and honoring, worshipping almost these two killer saints like Saint Michael and Saint George. So here it says King Edward VII, there he is. This is Princess Elizabeth. And here you can see Prince Harry. I mean, couldn't it be more obvious? So here it says Uncle Adolf, here King Edward VII. And look at it, how happy they are. Smiling, he's smiling, even Uncle Adolf is smiling. And here it says Prince Harry. Oh, look at that, he's having the same symbol here as this bloke here. You know, so there are numerous alleged indications that the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya wants the JJ base to disappear and the jaywalkers to perish. Most certainly so, because the WindSARs have an alleged internal quarrel with Lord Baron de Rothschild, the Lords Levi and Strauss, and the rest of the British Jaywalker nobility in England. So here it says Rothschild on the left-hand side, and here you see WindSAR. They all got their daggers out and their swords out here as well, and they're situated in England, which is being called Great Britain or United Kingdom nowadays, but I still call it England. So there's an internal war going on. It's so obvious. Mind you, that due to the Jaywalker nobility's diaspora, and consequently not having had their own country for 2000 years, the Jaywalker nobility, here on the right-hand side, have always been in favor of Republican NWO horizontal rule, whereas the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya and their pals in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the other Arab Emirates have always been for the OWO royal vertical rule of a feudal monarchy, which these guys here call a caliphate, for which they misuse religion in order to have the people fight for and build their aristocratic caliphate. Just as the Nazis had the Germans fight for the Aryans, from the Pharaonic Arion, meaning born out of the sun, whereas the Aryan master race are, of course, Pharaoh's nobility in Germany and Pharaoh's nobility in England, who come out of Germany anyway. And the same thing happening now again in the Middle East, where Islam has been turned into Islamo-fascism by the Oriental nobility in conjunction with the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya. Remember how the aristocratic Amin al-Husseini, here to the left, collaborated with the Nazis, while Philistine was under a British mandate. You all remember my video here, Agent of the Garter, Adolf Hitler, which we can see here in progress in this vicious Nazi circle by the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya, and this dark prince of the house of Al-Husseini visiting Adolf Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, while his Philistine homeland belonged to the British Empire. Is it that hard to see how the WindSARs are involved in all of this? They're connected to all the players and all their consecutive nations. I told you so, that all wars are internal wars of the nobility, and especially two world wars in between the new Republican NWO horizontal rule and the old royalist feudal OWO vertical rule. And now World War III coming up for the very same reasons of horizontally versus vertically. The Gaza War is an internal war of the nobility in between the Republicans and the royalists of the Caliphate. So here you see the guys of the Caliphate, and this they want to make a caliphate out of it, from the river to the sea, from the Euphrates river to the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Look, here you can see the Jerusalem city wall with the sun hieroglyph in it of the 101 winged sun disk of Horus. So here it is. Watch my 101 movies. So here you got the O, and these is a 1, and here's a 1. If you put it up like this, you know. And these are the wings of Horus, and this is the sun disk. You know, I made so many movies about this. Watch my video, The Pharaoh Show, and the 101 series. This is in Jerusalem, in the JJ base. This is pharaonic and probably built by the Ottoman nobility in the 16th century, just as we can see in Europe and in ancient Egypt everywhere. So here it is again. So the Nazis, they exactly had the same thing, you know, because it's all pharaonic and Horus. The Nazis were the Nazi Templars. And the Knights Templars were of the nobility, and the nobility comes out of Pharaoh. And the Nazis had the wing here, and another wing, and here they had the Horus winged sun disk with a swastika in the middle, you know. And now it's next to this flag here, which the jaywalkers thinks it's theirs. Well, it isn't even theirs, because this is the seal of King Solomon. So this King Solomon seal is the same as this pharaonic thing here. You know, it's all by Pharaoh. And if the jaywalkers really were the supposedly, you know, God's chosen, well, obviously God would tell them all about this. But it didn't happen, you know. It's me, homie Hross, telling everyone about this and telling the jaywalkers about this. So, you know, you have to, dear jaywalkers, you know, you have to let it loose, this thing about God's chosen people and all this, because it's just, it isn't true. Don't believe your Erev Rav, you know, and fight for your lives, you know. There's no God who's going to save you. You have to fight for your lives, and you have to do it now. Here you can read about the walls of Jerusalem. Look at it, it's quite magnificent, really. Very old stuff, you know, a lot of history to be seen. Here the Ottoman period, 6th century stuff. There it is, that wall. Magnificent, eh? That's very old, eh? Here, some more. If I would go there, I would go for this, you know, for the history, you know. All these old buildings you see here. This is probably older than the Ottoman Empire, because I'm not sure if the Ottomans, I mean, they were Turkish nobility. Look, it even has a fleur de lis, you know. Why does the Oriental nobility have the symbol of the French kings? Well, they're all the same, you know. You want to play soccer in a castle? And here another sun hieroglyph on the government building of Lebanon in Beirut, called the Grand Serai, from the pharaonic word Sar for king, or pharaoh, as in Sar-ai or Sar-a, the big king. And, you know, here it is. Here's the flag of Lebanon. I think they have a tree in it, the cedar tree. Here you can see the sun disk of Horus in the middle. And here the two wings. You know, this is also 101. And, you know, why am I showing you all this? You have to know that there's a lot of nobility in the Middle East, and they're still ruling everywhere. They always have been. And this is the reason for the Gaza war and everything what's going on. So here it is, Grand Serail of Beirut, Sar-Ah, you know, the big pharaoh, the big king, Sar-Ai. So here's that building, you see the sun hieroglyph, and here's the flag of Lebanon. There's some more buildings that are interesting here. Like this one here. This, I think this is the gate, the northern gate, it said, of the Sar-Ai. You see here the sun hieroglyph here, the two wings and the sun in the middle. And here there's a circle for the compass in a square. So it says square and compass, you know, Freemasonry, because this is the new system. You know, it's the government building, which is the Republic. And the Republic is being ruled by Freemasons. So this is why we have this here. And there's probably a lot more to see. This is the cedar tree again. Here's another sun hieroglyph here. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these things here. Squares. No, there's squares and circles. There's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares and 3 circles, making 7. So it's the concept of 3 and 4. And it's exactly 4 for the square, what I've always been telling you. And it's 3 for the circles, you know, which is the concept of 3 for the compass. And then you got 2 pillars here for Yachin and Boaz. Well, everything is here, eh? And this is in the Middle East, you know. So this is the internal war between the vertical rule and the horizontal rule. So here I got a more enhanced, detailed picture of the north gate of this building. I don't know where it is, maybe on the other side. And it looks like there are 7 squares, by the way. So, but anyway, here there's a circle and there are 8 things around, you know, octagon. You see, that's the octagon in the middle, and it even has a inner circle here. The inner circle is protected by the octagon from the square, you know, same thing. I've shown you this so many times. So I'm sorry, these are 7 squares, but anyway, it's the same thing. It's probably these little black ones are probably circles, and you know, so it says square and compass, you know, all over. So in Lebanon at the moment there is the Hezbollah, you know, and they all say, you know, the Sunnis hate the Shia Muslims and the Shia Muslims hate the Sunni Muslims. They all hate the Christians and the Kurds and the Yazidis, if I pronounce that well. And of course the jaywalkers, you know, but none of them sees by whom they're actually being ruled by, you know. They're ruled in Pharaonic, or in Arabic, they're ruled by Fir'aun, you know, by Pharaoh. It's all over here. There's a sun hieroglyph, and here it says square and compass. And instead of, you know, opening up their eyes, you know, they blame their neighbors, you know, for everything, you know. Here you can see the parliament building in Damascus, Syria, with 2 times the square and circle for the square and compass. As Syria is a republic with only Freemasons in parliament, which is the rule of a NWO republic. On top of that, there is the sun hieroglyph, and above that a depiction of Bashir al-Assad, of the royal house of Assad, in an octagon, and the 101 sun hieroglyph winged sun disk of Hross. These are all pharaohs ruling the Middle East. So here we see the flag of Syria, and here there's the falcon, Just as this falcon here, it's not an eagle. It's all because of this. And here's the sun hieroglyph. There's the sun here in the middle. It's nicely done because, you know, it had to be the opening of this, the entrance like so, but this is a circle, you know. And here you see the two wings. This is the sun hieroglyph, or the 101. It's the same thing as this here, from ancient Egypt. This is the sun disk with the two Giureh snakes, and these are the wings of Horus. This is called the winged sun disk of Horus, and we see the same thing here. And here, just as in Lebanon, we see the circle here, the inner circle, and here is a square. So it says square and compass. And at the same time, there are 8 things here. 1, 2, 3, 8, you know, with the little ones and the long ones here. So there's also the octagon, you know, in the same, you know, because usually the octagon or the lower grades in the police and the military, you know, they're made out of the people, out of the square. So this is why it is like this. So it says here square and compass here and also here. It's all here, you know. And here you see depiction in Damascus or another town of Bashir al-Assad, the dictator of Syria, the pharaoh of Syria. You know, Al-Assad, you know, I just told you so. Al, it means the house of, it means a nobility, aristocratic house. And he's in an octagon. So the octagon is defending the inner circle, which is the bloke here with his sunglasses here. And on each side, there's the wings, you know. And that's why we got an opening here, because, you know, they're the wings of Horus, just like this symbol here. They know it, you know, that's why they do it. And the Nazis, they had exactly the same thing here. Within the circle, the swastika. And then you got the wings of Horus. And this is a falcon. This is a falcon. And this is a falcon. And also this is, you know, depicting a falcon, the sun hieroglyph. So Pharaoh's nobility, they're ruling all over the Middle East. So why don't you guys open up your eyes and stop fighting each other, like between the Philistines and the jaywalkers, you know, the Arabs, the Muslims and the jaywalkers, and the Shia against the Sunni, you know, and against the Christians, against the white race, you know, it's everybody against everyone, you know. So in spite of the fact it's so obvious, you know, we got the enemy within, you know. And they're all ruling in parliaments, and, you know, they depict it everywhere on the walls and their own symbols, like here, the Nazis and the pharaohs, you know. Why don't you open up your eyes and listen to homie Hross? Therefore, in Syria or Sham, there was the nobility's inner war between the horizontal rule Republic of Syria and the vertical Sharia rule, Caliphate of the IS, which full name I neither can pronounce due to the censorship machines. Syria is a full pharaonic demotic name from Sar-ri-ah. From the demotic, the king pharaohs were born out of the sun. And here we can see the sun, here and here and here and here, and also here. So Syria is from the demotic pharaonic Sar, for a king, like the word Caesar or Nebuchadnezzar, not very far away, or the Tsars in Russia, Son Altesse Royale, you know. And Ri, it means the sun, officially, and Ah, it means big or pregnant. So, you know, the sun, pregnant, kings. So the pharaoh kings were born out of the sun. And of course, the name Sharia, it means the same thing. The Sharia is a vertical rule by the caliphate, by the pharaohs, by the Sharia. And therefore, it is not a coincidence that there is a resemblance between Prince Philip to the left and Hafez al-Assad, the father of Bashir al-Assad to the right, who both have quite identical ears. Here it says the Caliphate by Pharaoh's nobility. And here you see the Caliph or the Emir, and here you see the people who have to go into the dust, you know, to kiss his toes or whatever, you know. What an honor, eh? And here they all have to bow for the Caliph. So the poor people of the Middle East believe that the only solution to escape the Arabic dictators of Pharaoh's nobility is religion and its supposed caliphate, not knowing that the caliphate is a system by Shaitan, Iblis, and the Dajjal of the very same pharaonic nobility whom they wanted to escape in the first place. Only the first, whom you can see here, are horizontal pharaohs, and the second, whom you can see here, the vertical pharaohs. I explained the difference between the vertical rule and the horizontal rule in my previous videos, and it is very important to understand this. And because the Oriental people of the Middle East can't figure it out in this total chaos, they blame the jaywalkers for everything. Well, in the end, you have to blame someone, right? Look how the pals of King Charles Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya murdered the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018 in Turkey, butchering the poor man and cut him up in tiny body parts to manage the physical proofs out of that Saudi embassy in Turkey. So here it says on a van, probably in England. Look at all the camera, it must be England, isn't it? It says here, this is Jamal Khashoggi murdered on October the 2nd, 2018. With the guy with the tablecloth here, the same one as here, looking over his shoulder and smiling. Here it says, justice for Jamal. So, oh, now I get it, the tablecloth here and here. They butchered him up and they needed the tablecloth, you know, because they cut him up into tiny parts. And, well, if you digest that, you know, and have a meal, then you get rid of the evidence, you know. So that's probably why the tablecloth, eh? This is the nobility and what we're dealing with. Our masters are medieval butchers who butchered Jamal Khashoggi only because he criticized the royal palace of Sultan Charles and Caliph William, as if the embassy of Al Saud was transformed into a medieval castle of the Caliphate with a torture dungeon in it in the middle of the 21st century. So here you can see the Caliph William together with his pal of Saudi Arabia of Al Saud worshipping Amun-Ra, the sun. Here it says the city of Los Angeles, Jamal Khashoggi Square, a journalist and advocate for human rights and democracy slain by the Saudi government. Well, let me tell you, Saudi Arabia does not have a government. This is the government. It's a vertical rule by the monarchy, by the pharaohs. A government, you know, is a horizontal rule. These ones here of the House of Al Saud, you know, they give the final orders, you know, and a government is a horizontal rule, you know, of a a republican democracy. There are many people in a horizontal rule and in a government ruling together and talking, and whereas this is an absolute monarchy, it's a vertical rule. So maybe you want to change this. This is the nobility, who have no problem at all to provoke a large Middle East war by using their Hamas or Sham and their Yahya sin and war in order to reinstall their worldwide caliphate. And you can be sure that when the Muslims have finished off the JJBs and the jaywalkers, that after that the Europeans will be next on the list. Look, he's already having his tablecloth ready to be dished up. I guess the one world end times government will be a caliphate one, giving us all the end times chip in our hand and forehead. We're practically seeing the birth of the end times caliphate of pharaohs, worldwide nobility. I suppose that Sultan Charles Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya here said to his son, "Look, William, can you do me a favor for my friends of the Oriental nobility like Al Saud and the Emirs of Qatar, and tell those jaywalkers in the JJBs to stop defending themselves, because we're not moving on here with the Caliphate project. We're being played, people. They are leading us directly into the end times of a total control rule of Pharaoh's nobility." Just watch this very important video I made 12 years ago on my channel Gatsefrats about how the beginning of World War II is related to the biggest discovery of the 20th century, where 1 year prior to the war, the biggest oil reserve of all times was found in Saudi Arabia on March 3rd, 1938, making World War II possible barely 1 year later, because it needed a lot of oil to have all the tanks roll, all the submarines and battle cruisers sail, all the jeeps and trucks driving, all the cannons move, all the bombers and fighter planes fly. And this is what they were waiting for, so World War II could start. And on this moment, you see Al Saud doing the Hitler salute, the Nazi salute, and visiting Adolf Hitler in the eagle's nest. So watch this movie. I made it, it was 12 years ago, in 2012, now we're 2024. And here's the title. Make sure you download it, because I already took it away once. This is so important. We're being played. And these are the pals of King Charles Al-WindSAR, bin Arabiya, doing the Hitler salute, having the tablecloth on his head here, And all of this happened where the Caliphate of Al Saud rules, with in reality the house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya pulling all the strings. And that's why we had 2 Muslim SS divisions in Europe murdering 400,000 European civilians with at the head the aristocrat Amin al-Husseini from Philistine. And circle closed with today's Hamas, Yahya Sin and War, which is all related to Saudi Arabia, the house of Al-WindSAR, and the discovery of the biggest oil pit in history in 1938, just before World War II, enabling the entire World War, with Amin al-Husseini and the two SS divisions, and now this here. Here, look at this street in Saudi Arabia, showing the concept of 3 and 4 for square and compass. Here it is. So there are 3 squares for the squares, and the concept of 3, there are 3 of them, and the concept of 3 stands for the compass. It's the same all over the world, with pharaohs and nobility ruling the globe and having their internal wars, which we, the people, have to fight for them, like human pawns on a chessboard, with 2 noblemen playing us out. The nobility is very abundant in Gaza, and here is another proof of that. And there are even ancient castles like this Qasr al-Basha. Sounds a bit like castle, doesn't it? Qasr. It's from the 13th century, with here the sun hieroglyph here of Hross, just as anywhere else in the world, and on numerous castles in Europe, as all nobility derives from Pharaoh. It's this local nobility of Gaza, the driving force behind Gaza, together with Al Saud, Qatar, and the house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya behind the screens. Believe me, Mr. Sin and War is from the nobility, as no one else can achieve this kind of organization. And Pharaoh's nobility use religious hocus pocus as a higher authority to set the people's conscience in peace, just as they did in Europe during the Middle Ages and afterwards, through ecclesiastical terror and ecclesiastical fairy tales. Hamas is like the Spanish unholy Inquisition, exactly the same, because it's the same people behind it who always use the same techniques. So here you can see the Spanish Inquisition, carrying the crosses, and they're all like hooded up, just like Hamas, with their hoods, and here praying. It's exactly the same thing. And it's the nobility with their castles, Pharaoh's nobility. They are behind it. As the church, it has always belonged to the nobility. And the Protestant church was founded by the Knights Templars. So here you can read about the Qasr al-Basha, Qasr, like castle. Here you can see it behind the gate. There's the staircase. Here was the sun hieroglyph. Here it says 13th century. And I'll read it yourself. So the Qasr al-Basha. So in Gaza there are castles, and I just want to point out how important it is to know that the nobility in Gaza, they are very, very present. And this is what the Qasr al-Basha looks like today in 2024. Bombed by the J.J. Bay's army and the jaywalkers. What a pity. Well, we still have the picture, thus proving once more again the overall presence of the nobility in Gaza, and their descendants still ruling today over their utterly brainwashed population, while of course the nobility of Gaza, they are now hiding in Qatar, Dubai and Saudi Arabia, while the commoners are just camping out on the beach. So here you can see at the corner the sun hieroglyph here, and this was the entrance, and I think here was the steps going up here. So you can compare this. I'll show you the picture of how it was in 2023 once more. And here it is again, the magnificent castle, Qasr al-Basha, so of the dynasty al-Basha, with here the sun hieroglyph, and here the entrance. You can see the metal bars in front of the windows. And I guess they had this part just renovated in colors, you know, which you can see in the rubbles. So it is not anymore, which is a pity, because it's a very important proof that the pharaoh's nobility, you know, worldwide nobility, they're also in Gaza and in Philistine, and they're running the whole show. So here I did a comparison, so it's, you know, it's exactly the same work here and here. And then you got this line here, and then the bigger stones, and then the smaller stones, like here, the bigger stones, the smaller stones. Only this looks different, but it's, you know, it's bombed out, and maybe it's from the other side, you know. So this is what it looked like in 2023, before the jaywalkers bombed it, and this is what it looks like today, 2024. It's gone. And I looked it up. Qasr, it means a palace or a castle. So it doesn't only sound like castle, but it is a castle. And Basha, it means a pasha, you know. That's a high-ranking official. It's a Turkish word, al-Pasha. So it's the castle of the pasha. It's a nobility. The nobility's castle. You can see it's the same castle. It's completely destroyed now. And also this building here in Gaza has been completely destroyed. It's the ancient fortress from the year 1387 by the name of Khan of Amir Yunis al-Navruzi, and has also been destroyed. But anyway, it shows how present the nobility has always been in Gaza until this very day. And they are the ones behind the Gaza war and behind Hamas. As usual, it's Pharaoh's nobility as usual. So it's very important to know these images, like here, these ancient castles, you know, that it's not just a bunch of people camping out on the beach, you know, who don't have any more food, and the Hamas and killings and everything, you know. But it's very important to know that there is a Gaza nobility. And the nobility, you know, they're always the ones ruling and steering everything. They are the warlords, you know, telling the people, you go into the war, you kill these and that. And they're also the ones behind all religion, just as in Europe. The pharaonic media won't tell you this. They only keep you on a primary emotional level of poor Philistines versus poor jaywalkers, splitting the world into two camps. The whole shebang can only be solved through cold intellectual analysis instead of this emotional slave level. Yes, it sounds hard, but war is hard, and our masters even harder with us. their slaves. There was so much Oriental nobility in Philistine and the entire Middle East, who were all having real slaves, as an estimated 14 million Nubians were slaves and owned by the Arabic nobility throughout history. It is therefore that in Arabic the word for a slave and a Nubian, whom you can see here, is the same word, and which is the word abd, as for instance in the name Abdullah, meaning a slave of Allah. So for the Arabs, and most of all the Oriental nobility, of course, a Nubian is the personification of a slave. Then in 1948, the jaywalkers forbade slavery by the Arabic nobility, who therefore lost wealth, land, and power, because a nobleman will never work himself and needs his slaves to work for his dynasty. Then the hard-working jaywalkers grew in wealth through plain hard work, making a little paradise out of the JJ bays, while the Philistine nobility literally faded away in lazy backwards feudalism without slaves, who couldn't cross the threshold into the modern age of industrialism and science. And in their aristocratic despair came the only solution, which they had practiced over thousands of years, namely terror, the Caliphate, feudalism, lies, taqiyya, and a massive birth index in order to steal everything, for which the jaywalkers labored so hard and successfully for, transforming the backwatered Philistine into a JJ base paradise. Well, this is what the nobility always did all over the world: stealing, robbing, torturing, lying, wars without end, and have the people work in a feudal system, while they themselves lie on their backs the whole day while raping our daughters. Ladies and gentlemen, this and nothing else is what the Hamas and the Gaza war is all about. So here you can read about the history of slavery in the Muslim world, and here it says the Arab slave trade was most active in West Asia, North Africa, and Southeast Africa, and rough estimates place the number of Nubians enslaved in the 12th centuries prior to the 20th century at between 4 to 10 million. Well, I even heard about 14 million, but 10 million is already a lot, and even 4 million. So it must have been very, very much, very many Nubian slaves. And even the word for a slave and a Nubian is the same word, namely abd, as in the word Abdullah. Maybe it's also in the text somewhere. I'll let you read it yourself. Qatar plays a dominant role in the financing of international terrorism, where Putin and his oligarchs shipped all their wealth, which led to the downfall of the Swiss Credit Suisse Nazi bank in 2023, which you can see in this video here, which I made last year. You see Credit Suisse transferring all the money to the Emirates, like Qatar is one of the Emirates. And you can see that here on my other channel, Homeland Security, and here's the title. And also the Swiss great eminence here, François Genoux, and personal friend of Hitler and Amin al-Husseini, eventually had his Al-Taqwa terrorist bank based in Qatar and in Switzerland, together with the Swiss Hans Huber, who came twice to threaten me and my family while I was in Switzerland. So the name Huber, it became Hoover in American English, like J. Edgar Hoover and President Herbert Hoover. It's another Huber. So here you can see François Genoux, and here's the title. He was a great eminence. And I made this video in 2014, so that's 10 years ago, on my channel Gatzefrats, and I talked many more times about this. So here you can see the Emir of Qatar, probably this one, or maybe both of them. And this is in Qatar, and here you see the sun hieroglyph. It's also the it's the 101. You know, if you put this up, it's a 101. That's where it comes from. And it's the winged sun disk of Horus. Here's the sun disk, and here are the wings of Horus. As we're being ruled by pharaohs all over the world, and especially here, you know, it's an emirate, an emirate. So Qatar is ruled by an emir of the Arab nobility and was a British protectorate from 1916 to 1971. 55 years to theoretically make some royal descendants by these ones here, to allegedly have these kind of characters born there to infiltrate the Middle East for the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya, who, as we know, are not even English, but from the German house of Gotha-Coburg, and aren't German either, but pure Pharaonic as the entire nobility. So here it says the house of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. And here you go. Well, you can read it yourself. Find it yourself. Here it's about the United Kingdom here. The British line of Saxe, Gotha, Coburg was founded by King Edward the Seventh. He was the son of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg, there we are, and Gotha. His successor and son, King George V, changed the name of this line of the royal house and family to Windsor. And that's not very long time ago, because King George V, he died in 1936. So this happened in the 20th century. So here you can see it. And here you can read about it, Qatar. And here it's about the Ottoman period, and here's the British period. From 1916 to 1971. So Qatar became a British protectorate, on November the 3rd, 1916. And it got its independence here. Well, independence, there's no thing as independence, you know, in 1971. It's all about bloodlines, you know. And here you see the stamp, it says Qatar, and here's Queen Elizabeth. Well, you explain me about independence, eh? It's all about bloodlines, really. And the politics, yeah, Qatar is officially a semi-constitutional monarchy, but the white powers retained by the monarchy have it bordering an absolute monarchy. Well, it is an absolute monarchy, you know, really. And it's all about these pharaonic bloodlines. That's what it's all about. You know. And they're presenting it completely differently, changing names into WindSAR, and, you know. A chameleon couldn't do it any better as these ones here. How they're changing colors, changing names, changing appearances, disappear, pop up somewhere else again, and completely leave us in the dark of what they really are and what they are really trying to achieve under a chameleon's veil under which they present themselves to their surroundings. And you are the surrounding. Here you can see Qatar on the map here, and how it's basically a part of Saudi Arabia. Here it says in French, Arabie Saoudite. All of this is Saudi Arabia, almost going to the JJ base and the Mediterranean. And also the other Emirates, like Dubai and Kuwait, they're all basically a part of Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy. So is Qatar, so is Kuwait, and so is Dubai. The name Qatar is being pronounced as Qatar in Arabic, which suspiciously sounds like Khazar, as in Khazaria. Qatar, from the pharaonic Ka for soul and Sar for king, pharaoh, altogether meaning where the souls of kings live, for Ka-Sar, or Qatar. Those searching for Khazaria, you better look here where all the money is and where it says so in the name Qatar and the Qatari, Qataria. So here you can see from an airplane window the extremely rich Qatar. And here it says Qatar. It sounds very much like Khazar. The Ka is exactly the same. It's only the T, and this here is a Z or an S, which comes out of the pharaonic demotic Ka and Sar. Ka is the soul when you're alive. The Ba is the everlasting soul for the pharaohs, and Sar, it means the king. Pharaoh, like a Tsar, or Caesar, the king of Rome, or Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. And Ka-Sar, it means soul, king. Here it says Khazaria, and the people of Qatar, they are called the Qatari, you know, Khazaria, Qatariya. You know, there's very much in the name. So Swaziland is still the base of Pharaoh, but I see this is slowly or maybe even rapidly taking over at the moment. And here too, you see all these pyramids in the building here. This is why the Al Jazeera TV network makes only propaganda for Hamas when talking about the Gaza war, because Al Jazeera are the state media of the absolute monarchy of Qatar, who are in fact an emirate, which is identical to a caliphate, which Hamas wants to establish by murdering everyone else in the region. Qatar is the caliphate, and they train, hide, and finance Hamas for the obvious reasons, and they've been training and hiding all other terrorist groups all the time. before. So here it says, Al Jazeera is Qatar's propaganda network for the coming global caliphate. So here you can see the Raffles Hotel in Dubai. And here it says Dubai Emirate of Pharaoh's nobility. Well, how much more obvious can it be, eh? With a capstone in gold on it. And here as well on the building, another capstone and a pyramid on top. Here's another pyramid, here another one, here an obelisk, here pharaonic stuff. Here as well. There are 4 pillars for the concept of 4. The pillar is round for the concept of 3. It says square and compass. Well, this is Dubai. Now, how much more obvious can it be? I mean, this is not very far from ancient Egypt. It's like on the other side of the dip, And also Dubai is an emirate of the Oriental pharaonic nobility, just like Qatar, and which is an absolute monarchy feudal system, also called a caliphate or emirate, who of course want to export the caliphate idea to the entire world and also to places like Gaza and the Philistine JJ base, which of course the royal house of Al-WindSAR bin Arabiya also want, as they're not happy at all in the British constitutional monarchy of the horizontal rule. Yes, World War III will be about the royalists trying to defeat the Republicans and make a big caliphate out of Europe, America, Australia, and the rest of the world. So here we can read about Dubai. You can look it up yourself. And look at all the castles here. I mean, that's a sign that the nobility, they are there. Here, another one. And some more. So Pharaoh's nobility is here. And what is important to know, that's this here, the government. Here you see Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Here it says Dubai has been ruled by the Al Maktoum family since 1833, and the emirate is an absolute monarchy. And an absolute monarchy is a form of monarchy in which the monarch rules in their own right or power. In absolute monarchy, the king or queen is by no means limited and has absolute power over the slaves. Often such monarchies are hereditary. They're dictatorships, And so they are the vertical rule, and they want the vertical rule to expand into the caliphate. That's why we have the Gaza war. And here you can see the pharaonic Wafi shopping mall of Dubai, with obelisks, pyramids, statues of their direct pharaonic ancestors, and the winged sun disk of Hross. Do your shopping at Pharaoh Ramses II and get a pint of some heavenly Isis milk and some spicy busted meatballs. So here it says the name is the Wafi Mall Supermarket in Dubai, Pharaoh Emirate. And an emirate is the same as a caliphate, with obelisk, the symbol of the pharaonic domination, and a pyramid on top of it. And here the winged sun disk of Hross, with the sun in the middle, and here the 2 wings, which is the 101 sun hieroglyph, which we find everywhere. And here, still in Dubai, the Sofitel Pharaonic Hotel, with the winged sun disk of Hross, 3 lamps for the Osiris, Isis, Horus family, from big to small, and the royal pillars of Yachin and Boaz. Do you have any doubt the pharaohs are living in the Emirates where all the world's money went to, since they've been draining Swaziland since the financial shift of 2008 world finance crisis? So here it says the Emirate is the same as a caliphate, and this is the Sofitel Hotel in Dubai. Here you got the Falcon, and this is the hotel desk, imagine. Here you got the three lamps here, from big to small, and the one in the middle. The winged sun disk of Horus, the two pillars, Yachin and Boaz. So that means all pharaohs of the entire world, they're welcome here. And when World War III is happening, they will probably all be coming here, our masters. And of course in Swaziland as well. This here is part of the origin of the Gaza war and Middle East crisis, which is an internal war of Pharaoh's nobility in between their vertical royalists and their horizontal republicans. And here you can see again the hotel desk with the Falcon, the Sofitel Hotel, and here you can see a lot of Anubis, the jackal god here. There are 4 of them, or maybe even what looks 6 at least. So it's like a rebirth of ancient Egypt here. I mean, can you deny it? No. It's the reincarnation of ancient Egypt, and it's already there. The JJ base and America are horizontal republics, and Britain plays a dirty role pretending to be America's friend, but in reality teaming up with the Caliphate guys, thus pumping millions of Muslims into Europe in order to reinstall British absolute monarchy back into its full glory. And where are the Europeans in all of this? Well, slowly but certainly disappearing. Bye-bye. Farewell, you dumb coward slaves. We're witnessing the rebirth of Pharaoh and the reincarnation of ancient Egypt. Fight now, people, or perish painfully. Of course, all these powers behind Hamas, like Saudi Arabia and absolute monarchy, Qatar, also an absolute monarchy, Dubai, also an absolute monarchy, represent the Caliphate, because an Oriental absolute monarchy is a Caliphate, a pharaonic model they just want to have expanded throughout the Middle East and Europe. Therefore, creating Hamas, Al-Qaeda, IS, Hezbollah, and the rest of these Caliphatists. By the way, they call the European Caliphate Al-Andalus. We may use Pharaoh's media to see what happened, but they will never tell you why it happened or who did it make happen. At this point, I step in and tell you the whole story, because this is what my house told me since I was a small kid. Now, I'll lead you the way.